Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dorian Show. There was a crazy weeks in earnings from the big tech companies, the FANG stocks. They all did great. I mean, I don't know. I really didn't look up Apple, but I think they did pretty good. Their stock went up. But honestly, I don't really care about Apple. I really just care about the ones that directly have the companies that have a direct play in the AI field and cloud, especially these growing industries. But just a quick rundown, like a lot of people are saying that AI is not paying off yet, but that is not true, especially for the big tech companies. This is just revenue growth. I got my little cheat sheet here. Revenue growth for the major tech companies. Google's revenue year over year went up 22%. Amazon year over year growth went up 17, Microsoft 18, Meta 33%. They're all making more and more money ever since AI, an introduction of AI, right? Like a lot of people said that, or a lot of people thought that the spending on AI, on these data centers, on these Nvidia GPUs are not going to pay off, but it seems to be paying off for these guys. It might not be paying off for like smaller independent tech companies, but for these major tech companies, it is having a major impact on their revenues. And it's not just on the revenues. Like all of these companies' margins expanded, which you would think would collapse, right? Because the cost of building out these data centers and training your AI models are very expensive. But they're able to make money and widen their margins. For some reason, Nvidia keeps getting dumped. I think there are a few reasons. Every single quarter, people start to talk about competitors. Nvidia is going to have like Google's TPU, Amazon's Trainium, AMD. Huawei in China, et cetera, et cetera. And for the most part, that might be true. However, Nvidia still builds the best GPUs. Even these companies with their own chips, their own semiconductors, they're still buying as much Nvidia as they can because it's the best product out there, and they're going to have to keep paying for it because AI is still new. Everybody's fighting for the best model, right? Every couple months, it sounds like another AI company is the top LLM or top AI. You know what I mean? Like first it was Anthropic, then it was Gemini, then it's back to OpenAI with their ChatGPT. It's going to be a close race, and I think we are only in the beginning innings of this new industry. And I read Nvidia's, for some reason, their earnings reports coming on in like 3 weeks, but we already know they're going to beat all earnings, right? All these tech companies that I just talked about, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and Meta, they're already going to say they're going to spend more money this year and expected to spend even more money the year after. I think they're all saying they're going to spend about $200 billion. So combined together, they're going to spend over $1 trillion a year to buy new GPUs from Nvidia, from each other, building out data centers. And guess what? Guess who's going to make a lot of that money? Nvidia. So yeah, I don't know why people are still down on Nvidia. Forward PE for Nvidia is like 17, which is very, very low compared to the S&P Index. So yeah, I mean, I personally own a lot of Nvidia, so I'm not buying anymore. I'm very overextended. I'm more than 50% of my portfolio is Nvidia at this point. So it's very tempting for me to want to keep buying more, but just to be more responsible, I should not be adding more. I should be buying more stuff. Like I said before, like I've bought Howard Hughes. I've bought other companies that kind of diversify away from tech. But yeah, tech plays a huge part of my portfolio right now. And yeah, I think any of the tech companies are good. I think the best bet, the safest bet for people to buy right now is probably the S&P Index. VOO is Vanguard's. Gotta take a sip. Vanguard's S&P 500 index fund, and I think most people should buy that. Like if you're not buying any stock, you should definitely buy VOO, which is Vanguard's S&P index. It's low fees, and you get an exposure to the 500 biggest, some would say the best companies in the world. And you get a heavy exposure to tech. All the tech companies are in it, and they are weighted pretty heavily. I think the FANG stocks make up, like, just on their own, the big five or big six or whatever, big four. Just those few companies make up about 20% of the index. So, not only do you get diversification, you get a large allocation in tech. So all these companies I'm talking about, Google, Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon, Apple, like they're all in the S&P 500 index. So you guys should really be buying at least the index. And if you want a little bit more exposure, to buy some of these individual stocks. But of course, there's like risk to it. I own a bunch of Nvidia. I own a bunch of Google, and I own a bunch of like some uranium stocks. And it just, I mean, I knew they were going to do good, but like none of them met my expectation to the upside or to the downside, right? Because I invested in uranium earlier. I thought that, yeah, we need a lot of stable energy, reliable, clean energy. And that uranium was going to be like a huge play. It was. I like maybe tripled my money, I think. But it did not meet my expectations. I thought I was going to 10x my money 3 years ago, and that still hasn't happened yet. So and some of these uranium stocks are losing money for me, actually. So it's very hard to pick individual stocks. Even if you do pick correctly, it's like the price action never really goes the way you want it to. It did go up for me, but I was expecting it to go a lot higher. Inversely, I own a bunch of Google, and it blew by my expectations by a lot. I think I also tripled my money in my Google position. I thought it was only going to double, and I didn't expect it to have so many catalysts to boost it forward, but I was proven wrong every single time. Like their growth, their search revenue growth has continued to grow double digits every quarter, which is crazy, right? Because I remember when AI first came out, everybody was like, search is dead, ChatGPT is killing search, Google Gemini is going to cannibalize this search business, no one's going to use search anymore. And it turns out AI has made search better. I don't know how it happened. I do use search, but I think I use search different than everybody else, right? First of all, I don't use Google. I use Bing. I use Bing because I want to be different. But usually how I use search is I'll type in Reddit and I'll ask the question because I want to read the answers given out by other users like me. So that's how I use search. But I guess a lot of people are still using search. Ads are still paying off. But yeah, I mean, you can never really gauge or forecast it completely, where you think the price point would go. Like Google overperformed by a lot. My uranium stocks underperformed, even though it did perform as probably one of my best investments thus far. The safest thing, and even if I could go back in time, I would put a majority of my money in the S&P index. I do have a lot in it, but it's like such a small part of my portfolio, and I don't, at this point, it doesn't even really diversify me away from tech, since 20% of the S&P is already tech related, and like 80% of my portfolio is tech or tech related, right? So there's Google and Nvidia, they're tech related, and then I have a bunch of uranium companies that are basically almost connected to tech, because a lot of people are thinking like uranium is the fuel for all these data centers that needs to be built. But yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about this week, I know my podcast kind of bipolar. I had like people on who were just talking about movies and religion and comedy. And last week I was going on a rant about politics and how dumb it is. And this week I'm talking about stocks and finance. But that's just kind of how this podcast rolls. The truth is, like, a lot of people are afraid of AI. It's kind of funny. They were saying these are polls that I've never looked at myself, but I've heard it repeated over and over again. They say that most Americans have a negative view of AI, whereas like most people in China have a positive view of AI, meaning they think that AI is going to improve people's lives, whereas Americans feel like it's going to harm our lives, right? To make it worse. And I think a lot of it has to do with like job security. I know in China people get paid such terrible wages anyways, like their life kind of sucks, you know what I mean? Their work life balance, there's none. A lot of people are working like really low wages for very long hours, and they're like, you know what I mean? Like AI could only make their lives better. At least like AI could make their stuff cheaper. But in the US, a lot of people have good jobs. A lot of Americans I know are in the middle class, right? Middle class, upper middle class, even higher upper class. Um, and the unexpected thing is like AI is kind of coming for everybody, right? In the beginning, people think that AI was going to take over like blue collar jobs, but they seem to be the most resilient. Like a plumber, like I don't see any AI or robots taking over a plumber's job now, or an electrician. Not for at least like another 10 years. You know, I think they'll get there sooner or later. But AI, self-driving Waymos, they're gonna get rid of Uber drivers. I hate to say it, like it's. I don't know if you guys ever been in a Waymo. It's way better than an Uber driver. You don't have to talk to them. You don't need to have to be afraid like they're listening to you. You know what I mean? It's just a better experience, you know, especially for people that don't really want to talk to anyone when you're taking a car ride somewhere. And there's not even okay. I live in LA. I live in West Hollywood. There are not a lot of Waymos, but the prices are pretty competitive, especially because you don't have to leave a tip for your Uber or Lyft drivers, which you should always do. Always leave a tip for your Lyft and Uber drivers, unless you don't take them. Like me, I stopped taking them. Really, I always go to Waymo. I compare prices, and if Waymo is like even close to the price, I take a Waymo every single time. I feel safer in a Waymo. I know there are videos of like Waymos running over like a cat or like speeding through intersections, but it feels like such a better ride experience, right? Sometimes I'll be in an Uber and I'll be like, dude, this guy's a little reckless. I've never had that with a Waymo. I've also taken more Ubers in my life. But anyway, what I was trying to say is, yeah, it's going to be tough for a lot of American workers, you know, even white collar jobs. Like AI is so good. You know what I mean? I don't even see why customer service will even exist. Like I feel like I've used a couple of customer service like AI chatbots, and they give me the answers that I'm looking for in a clear way, and they're able to help me way faster than like other customer service agents that I've talked to in the past through the chat function, which are better than the phone, by the way. So there's like progress. So the chat agent with a real live agent is better than talking to someone on the phone. And then the AI agents so far have been way better than talking to a real person on text or on chat. And the reason is like the AI chatbots have a better understanding of language. And I'm not saying that the agents before the real life people don't speak English. Sure, some of them are outsourced to like India or whatever, but you know, sometimes they don't understand the question and there's like a frustration back and forth, which AI solves immediately, and they could help like a million people at once for the same price as one agent, right? Like you can multiply how many people they could help with lower costs. So that's bad. I mean, that's bad if you're a customer service agent, but it's overall a good for the companies, the stockholders, for consumers even. And I know that sounds terrible, but it's true. Um, I think in the long term, AI and robotics is going to make everybody's lives better. You know what I mean? Sure, there are going to be less driving jobs, but Waymo is going to be affordable. The road's going to be safer. AI is going to help you be more productive. Like, I don't even use one of these paid AIs, but just the free version, they're already so useful to me in my day-to-day life. I haven't really used it for my job because my job is pretty elementary, is the best way I could say. My job is not, it's pretty easy. I'm sure it's like if someone looked at my job, they're like, oh, it's kind of difficult. But because I've been doing it for so long, I think it's pretty easy. And my job could be easily replaced by an AI. I feel like I could train my AI. I could train an AI to do my job probably like in an hour. That's how easy I think it is. But also my job's going to take a long time. A lot of these companies are going to take a lot of time to adopt AI. But it's coming. Like the writing's on the wall, and I think a lot of people see this. You already hear a lot of places like firing people, like tech companies are firing people. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, we have too many redundancies. We don't need this. A lot of these like finance firms, like Goldman Sachs, or all these investment banking companies are like, a lot of these like junior bankers jobs could be replaced by AI. Like, why do we need junior bankers? Which leads to a more pessimistic view, right? Like a lot of young people coming straight out of college are having trouble looking for jobs. I think they say like the unemployment rate for new grads are like 13%, 14%, which I don't know if it's comparable to like years past. But it sounds pretty bad. At least the perceived prospects of their employment is really bad. And although I think in the long term everything will be cheaper and everything will be good overall for society, AI and robotics, I think in the short term there's going to be a lot of pain. Like my job could be taken over tomorrow, even though I doubt it, just because of the industry I am in. But a lot of people are probably seeing it hit a lot closer to home, right? Like if you're driving Uber, unfortunately, I mean, you're seeing your wages are cut. I know Uber's been like taking more and more of the cut of their drivers since inception. You're now, if you're an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, you have to compete with Waymo, which a lot of people do prefer. I hate to say it, I prefer it, and I don't think I'm uniquely special in that way. I think a lot of people do prefer Waymo. And right now, the prices are pretty similar. Sometimes Waymo are a little bit more expensive, and I think people would still go for a Waymo. Now, if you imagine once Waymo become 20% cheaper than Uber or Lyft, like you think it's gonna be tough, dude. It's gonna be tough. White collar jobs aren't safe either. Like if you're like a clerk, or if you're what do you call those? A paralegal or whatever. Like a lot of your jobs might be replaced. Right. And then for those of you that don't lose your job, like you should learn how to use AI, and it'll make you more efficient, and you probably will get paid more. So I think the people that know how to use AI to make themselves better will end up getting paid more. They'll be more efficient, but then a lot of people will also lose their jobs, unfortunately. But I don't think it's all that bleak, to be honest. We know it's coming. AI is already here. Like I said, the free version's already like super useful to me. It like probably changed the way I interact with the internet, even with my phone or with my computer. Like it just came out maybe 3-4 years ago, and I feel like it's made such a huge change. And I haven't even started looking into like the paid versions, and I don't even truly understand how like the paid versions could help me in my life so far, but it's coming. Like a lot of people swear by these paid versions. I have a friend that pays for them. Don't exactly know what he's doing with it, but you know what I mean? Like the value is already here. Like it's real. Like a lot of people are saying like, oh, AI is no big deal. It's no big deal. It's not. It doesn't know anything. It always like brain farts or freezes. It's happening less and less. It's getting better and better by the month. And And I think us as people in the society shouldn't bury our heads in the sand and just wait for AI to come and replace us, right? And this is why I think people should own stocks. You know what I mean? Like if you have a job now and you have money saved up and you're not buying stocks, you're doing yourself a disservice, right? This is my opinion. I think history says this, but like commodities and stock holdings are one of the best investments you could ever make, going back like 20, 30 years. Of course, this does not mean in the future it can't crash. It could, but likely it will continue to outperform, right? If you know AI is going to take over your job, why wouldn't you hedge against yourself or think of it as a as like a insurance policy against your own income, right? If I think AI is going to come take my job, shouldn't I go buy some stocks in companies that are making AI, or even like I said, a safer alternative, S&P 500? All of these companies are going to get in the S&P 500 are going to use AI at some point. Some are going to benefit more than others, but I'm guessing costs will go down, margins will go up, um, income would go up. They might be firing people. They likely are going to fire a bunch of people. So especially, so if you're listening to this right now and you're one of those people that are afraid of AI, like why wouldn't you buy stocks? You know what I mean? Like it just makes sense. Like I don't know, a lot of people are gambling with their money. You know what I mean? They're going, they're betting sports, they're betting on Kalshi or whatever you call whatever the other ones are. You know, you're betting on sports, you're betting on politics, you're betting on the weather, you're betting on if a dictator is going to get taken out or not. Like that is just, you're just gambling. And I know a lot of people are feeling like financially pessimist, and they're just like spending their money on get rich stuff. They're trying to gamble their way out of poverty, and that's not the way to do it. Um, I gotta say, stocks are kind of boring, especially if you buy the index. It moves, honestly, it moves up quite a lot. It goes up on average 8% a year. And that's average, meaning most years they'll probably be way lower than 8%, but other years they'll be way higher than 8%. And if you can imagine how much 8% is, that's a lot of money. That means for 8%, that means for every $100 you save, you'll gain $8 at the end of the year. That's 8%. You don't think that's a lot? $1,000 would get you $80, and then $10,000 will earn you $800 in a year for doing nothing except buying the S&P 500. And I think, and I trying to be. I can't think of words when I'm talking about myself. I'm trying to be understanding and compassionate to people that are working in the lower class, lower income, that don't have a lot of money saved up. They're like, hey, I can't buy stocks. Like buying $100 of stock a month won't make a difference. But the truth is, you have to take control of your own life, right? Like you can't just wait for destruction to come in your life, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like if I know this is hard, but like I'm thinking what I would do if I was working like a minimum wage job. The truth is, I'll try to downsize. If I was living with a roommate, I might try to live with more roommates, right? And I'm not saying that's comfortable coming from a guy that's living in a 1-bedroom apartment in West Hollywood. Pretty nice. But I'm just saying, if I didn't have money and I feel like my job's going to be taken away, I would work more jobs. If I was working at McDonald's, I'll probably try to get another shift, or I'll try to go work at a Burger King after. I'll try to work at a grocery store, or I'll try to get promoted. You know, like time is not waiting for you. Like you got to hustle, you know? And whatever little money I save over, I'll put it straight into the stock market, dude. Even if it's like $100 a month, $20 a month, $50 a month, like it might not seem a lot when you first invest, but in a couple years, in 10 years, you'll look back and that small sum of money will have ballooned up to a large amount of money. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, I invested for a long time, and you know what I mean. When I first invested, I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's not a lot of money," but like over a span of like what 5 years. These are my individual stuff. In 5 years, Google, uranium, they tripled in price. That means that I put in $1,000, it became $3,000 from doing nothing in 5 years, right? So the more money you could put into it, that you'll be able to grow that money exponentially. And I don't know how much I buy people saying like they can't afford to even invest in a little bit, because I people are spending a shit ton of money on garbage every single day. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? People are like, a while ago, people were like buying Jordans. They're trying to buy and resell Jordans, and that's not cheap, right? A pair of Jordans, like you buy it for retail is what, 165 at that time to $200 a pair, and you're trying to flip it for what, 300, $400. You know what I mean? That's not a lot of money. Like you would have to keep buying a large supply of Jordans to resell, and there's like a huge risk of prices plummeting. And I've seen it myself. I know a lot of people are saying like the resale market for Jordans or Yeezys are basically dead. And once it's dead, you just have a bunch of inventory in your house that you can't get rid of, but then you spent thousands of dollars on it already. You know what I mean? Like just take that money, like when you're trying to get rich off of like reselling Jordans, take that money and put it into the S&P 500 Index. Like it'll do you much better, and you'll make a lot more money. I would say I personally own crypto, Ethereum, Bitcoin, but I feel like stocks are still better, have a better chance of giving you a return than Bitcoin and Ethereum, even though Bitcoin has gone up a lot. Um, it just doesn't have that track record that stocks have. You know what I mean? Like with stocks, you could get rich slowly. And I think everybody's trying to get rich quick. They're trying to turn a quick buck. They think they could flip this $160 pair of Jordans for like $1,000, which I've done, by the way. I didn't do 1,000, but I flipped a Jordan pair of Jordan 6s, and I think I got them for maybe $200, 220. I don't know if it's 220 or 160. I forget, but I sold it for like $600. But it took me like 5 years to sell it, and it was only like a $400 profit in 5 years. You know what I mean? Like that's not a lot of money over 5 years. If I wanted to make more money on Jordans, I would have to buy like $10,000 worth of Jordans and like actively listing them online or trying to resell them. That's a lot of pressure. And when you buy stuff like shoes, the minute you get them, it starts to deteriorate, right? The glue is going to fall apart. You know, in 10, 20 years, that shoe, you can't even put it on because it'll just turn to dust. Like that doesn't happen to stocks. Stocks are evergreen. As long as the company is a good company, keeps making money, like that the value of the stock only goes up. You know what I mean? There's no shelf life unless they stop making money. I've also been seeing a lot of people buying Pokemon cards, like thousands of dollars of Pokemon cards. You know, like Pokemon cards are kind of like the new Jordans now, and I mean, I gotta admit it, like I fell for it. Like I was starting to watch all these content on Meta. By the way, advertisement works. Dude, I've seen enough like hot chicks opening Pokemon cards. I was like, dude, I want to open some Pokemon cards, and I started going looking for them. And part of the reason why I was looking for them is because I saw the value of the Pokemon cards going up. I wasn't necessarily thinking about reselling Pokemons, but the idea of having like a high value Pokemon card, like it got me too. This is from someone that only thinks you should buy stocks that is as an investment. I got sucked into Pokemon cards too. And people are spending like hundreds and thousands of dollars on Pokemon cards, hoping they could like flip that at a later time for a bigger payout. And that is so risky. Stop buying Pokemon cards. Go buy stocks. That's all I'm trying to say. You know, AI is coming. All our jobs are going to be taken away. Like, we might as well buy these companies. It's better. These companies are going to get rich anyways. You might as well own a piece of it so you could benefit from it when they make all these billions of dollars. Hopefully, you could benefit with your little slice of that company. I don't know if that sounds bleak, but I've done really well with stocks, and I'm not a rich guy at all. Like my most of my friends make more money than me, some significantly more money than me, but because I got lucky with a couple of stocks and I own some S&P 500, like I'm in a really good spot right now in terms of like financially, because of stocks, and I think it just surprises me how few people actually own stocks. And look, I tell people to get a second job. I've worked a second job before my dad passed away. I worked a second job for like a whole year because I felt like I was behind. Like I felt like inflation was eating away at the value of my dollar. So I had to get a second job so I could buy more stocks and pay more taxes too. But I get it, dude. I get it. No one wants to work a second job. I worked it for a year. I'm not doing it right now, because I'm trying to do my podcast and do comedy, which makes me no money. But just stop wasting your money. Stop wasting your money on Pokemon cards. Stop wasting your money on Pokemon cards. Like what I have right here, Stop wasting your money on Pokemon cards like this, dude. This is for the thumbnail. Stop wasting your money on Pokemon cards. You know what I mean? Like I bought all these for resale too. Like these are supposed to go for like $4 each. I bought these packs for $8 each, dude. That shit's crazy, dude. I don't even know what I'm gonna do with them. I'm not gonna resell these, and a lot of these are dropping in value because they keep reprinting them. But yeah, while I have these out, should I open one of these to get more people to view my pod? All right, let's open one of these. I got this pair for $8. $8 for a packet of Pokemon cards. This could give me a latte. This could get me a meal at McDonald's. This could get me some chicken from Ralph's. This could get me a whole chicken from Costco. Instead of doing all that, I bought a pack of Pokemon cards. This could be a gallon of gas. This is more than a gallon of gas, by the way. Let's open this. Stellar Crown, by the way. I don't know if this is a good pack or not, but let's open it. I don't know what the pack trick is. I think it's one card. Is this card valuable, dude? That was $8. What the hell? Don't buy Pokemon cards, dude. That was $8. Do not buy Pokemon cards. Buy stocks. Bye bye.